Hey y'all, welcome back to Let's Talk About It with Courtney. I am your host, Courtney Carroll, your licensed therapist in Washington and North Carolina State, your connection coach and podcast host. This is your first time tuning in. Thank you for joining me. Welcome into my home. I've worn this like almost every single session, or I call these sessions, by the way. I should start telling you guys that now. But I just start off like, if you haven't seen an episode before, I treat these just like therapy sessions. If you don't know this already, a therapist typically doesn't know what they're walking into unless they've texted or communicated with a client. So I go into this, there's no teleprompter, there's not a lot of information, but a basic idea of what I want to talk about. I am so excited to share with you, that February is going to be here in a day. It's going to be great. I'm so excited for February. I don't know about you, but so many of my clients, both in my therapy practice and my coaching business, have been feeling like January would not end. I have a good friend of mine that just had a million things happen to her car, and she's like, adulting sucks. I even woke up this morning with news of changes and scheduling and all the fun things, and I'm like, dang, gosh, it's not February yet. But something really intentional I want to be about, and I think I talked about this last 2 episodes, like I'm going to be very intentional about February. I'm going to have some pop-up things happening that I will share through my social media, and you can see more information about that. I have some guests coming in. I believe I at least have 2 coming in for the month of February, because I want February to shift. I want it to be different. I've been doing this podcast now since, my birthday, August 29th. And that's when I put this out there into the world. And so it's been a good chunk of time to where I now feel a little bit more comfortable, right? I'm new at this. I don't know a lot about the social media world. I'm learning it as I go, like even just recording and being honest with you now. And I'm excited to expand it. Like, I'm really excited for these amazing people to come in and introduce themselves and their stories, and gosh, it's going to be good. But what I really want to highlight is, as most of you know, February is a month of love. Like, that is Valentine's Day. I'm a huge fan of Valentine's Day. I'm a huge fan of love. Literally. I'm a couples and sex therapist. I help women and men through all life's challenges, but a big component of everything I do is have love and intention with it. There's something I learned this last, I would probably say at least 2 years, specifically since my separation a few years ago with my ex-husband. And I think it's just a perfect ending to January, if I'm being honest. Is we are so used to giving or receiving love the way we want to or think it should be. And I think the biggest thing I've struggled personally is to be open to receiving. My whole life, bless it, especially from, I was probably 5 and up, I had learned love is hard. And this is no bashing my parents. I truly believe my parents and anyone that's been in my life did the best what they could do with what they had, information they had, and at the point of healing at which they were, right? And I just remember all the time, having to either pretend I was something I wasn't as a kid, or not liking something to get attention, or to just realize that I have to work hard. I have to earn. I have to get good grades. I have to outshine one of my siblings. I have to be good at sports. I played soccer growing up, and my work ethic, I always strive to be the best employee. I've been working since I was 13 or 14 years old, babysitting and doing all of that. And then, as life got in, and I always just wanted to work hard because I felt like that would get me recognition from my parents or love. I didn't know this at the time. Gosh, bless therapy and grad school and all the things. And then I also, if you haven't been familiar with my episodes, I talk about my biological mom and how she faced addiction. My mom is a drug addict, battled drugs, and life cost a lot with her, and abandoning her 4 kids with my dad, and goodness, like having that make sense. I think I was like 10, 11 years old, and having her have start a new life, a new family, and moving on and all these things. And yeah, of course drugs were involved, but I also realized like people leave you. So again, it kind of reiterated, sorry, that's a weird word for me, to work hard. And especially when my stepmom came in. I love my stepmom, but she had 2 kids of her own. We were 4, and we wanted to make her happy. We wanted her not to leave. We wanted her, like, and I just remember really being intentional about wanting to make her specifically proud, and my dad. My dad worked extremely hard, and gosh, he's literally the most hardest worker I know. I know I get my work ethic from him, but I also have learned it's hard to get a lot of time with him and attention from him. And he's great. He loves me at every way he could, but his time was limited, and like I just tried to, I guess, earn it again. And then my relationships I chose in high school, I think about a guy specifically was really crazy about, gosh, for years. And he was so unavailable, guys. But I was just so used to it being hard. Hard. And then I think about my ex-husband. I met him at 21. And, you know, being 21, wild. I just think about how young that is now. And, you know, long distance relationship almost right off the bat. And I would say like about a year into our first year of marriage, finding out about cheating and all these things. And I just, you know, love wasn't easy. And I think I stuck it out for as long as I did because I just thought love was hard. I know. I sin. Part of my healing work with my therapist, my mentors, is like sending that young, gosh, I must have been like 23-year-old self so much love. She only did what she knew. I was fighting to keep a marriage that didn't treat me the same as I treated him. You know, I had loved that man. And I know he, again, loved me with the best he could love me. And I think I never went to therapy until after I was married. So that's like what started my whole therapy journey and becoming a therapist and all the things. But it was never really easy. Very, very limited time. So I feel like that relationship was easy flowing or mutual, or just because of the lack of respect. And I just remember, you know, maybe if I do this, he'll see my worth. You know, especially when I was in like school, my bachelor's and my master's and going through grad school, and he had a job change. We ended up going out to North Carolina, and I'm like, maybe this will, like, a new start will make everything go away, or like erase the past or whatever. And you can heal the past. What I can be so clear is you can't erase it. You can't quite always give someone a clean slate, because the fact is damage was done. But choosing to stay in that relationship had everything to do with me just as much as it had to do with him. And what's really great is we had an amazing daughter out of it. And my last year, like probably the most healing work I did, was the year leading to my separation. And I did a lot of meditation. I learned Reiki, energy work, and I learned just like really healing my stuff. And it was so weird how much better our relationship got just by me taking care of those things for me. And it's not weird to say, I thought that was probably our best year of marriage. I lost a bunch of weight. I was really taking care of myself. I was working out. I had a great, I left my group practice and started my private practice, and our daughter was doing great. And then the cheating happened again. And what I'm so proud about at that moment is I did love myself enough, and I did love myself enough to know that it was done. And it was the first time where I said no more, because it had happened countless times, like I don't even know how many times. And I remember specifically, because I have a daughter, I'm like, I can't teach her this. Like, this isn't love. Because I learned with my daughter, like, how easy it is to love. She's the easiest person to love. She's goofy and funny and full of life. And gosh, she sings now. And it's so, she's on a microphone singing this morning. And it was so cute. And I just realized how effortless that was. And I know it's a different relationship with a child versus a partner. But I stand by that. I know I did the right thing by leaving my marriage, ending it, and choosing all the paths, even though I feel like I mess up, and I know that I'm not perfect by any means. I try my best. But that was like my first step. And what made me really want to talk about this podcast is love should not be this hard. I am a well-known couples and sex therapist, especially where I'm from, or where I started that career in Southern Pines, North Carolina. I'm establishing my base here. And I had to learn to love myself and know myself and heal myself to get to a point where I'm like, this isn't, like, love should not be hard. And I know, like, that's wild. And I say this to clients, couples, anything I work with. There are times when life hits you, and that's the work I do, is helping couples heal or work through things, or a big part of what I do is kind of feel like I'm like a land navigator, and that's why my private practice called Waymark Counseling, is sometimes when we're all in the trenches, we can't see each other, and I feel like I'm like the navigator on the radio, getting them back to each other, because they've just lost each other. They're both in the trenches. And that's not what I'm speaking to, because love's also a choice, and those couples are working their butts off to, like, making sure that because love is not enough. You know, I say this so many times. My marriage would still exist if it was just love. There was so much love there. But not thinking relationships have to be that hard. There are seasons, and that's not what I'm saying. Because I really want to talk to couples for a second, because I don't want you to feel like, well, Courtney, what do you mean? What about this work we're doing? I 100% believe in the work, and we have seasons. They should not be for years. Especially if you're actively doing the work, you should be able to have pockets where things are really good and there's reconnection, and then you're working on something else. I have a few clients, or a few couples I'm thinking of right now, and how proud I am for the work they're at and where they're at right now, and knowing that did take us a long time to get there, but now we're having conversations we've never had, exploring things how we never had, and falling more in love and recognizing what's going on. And I think that's amazing. But what I never really was raised around, and like what I think I'm going to be calling the podcast, I name the podcast after I record, is talking about receiving love. Yeah. Talking about knowing what love is and what's not. And we're going to dive into love a lot, and self-love and receiving love in February on this podcast. And you're going to, if you follow along on my social media or my TikTok or Instagram, you're going to see it too. I'm going to be so intentional. I want to be with you on the journey on opening your hearts again. Yes, I'm single. I've been divorced. I broken up in an engagement about a year ago. And there's so many reasons for me to be like, fuck that. Never again. Right. And there were days, like, especially at the beginning, I needed a break. I couldn't date. I just moved out here to be with my ex, and like, gosh, I loved my ex-husband, and like, in our 11-year marriage, and gosh, like, I was not ready to jump into anything. Just like, if you're brand new into this, I'm not saying just jump in. Do the healing work, go to therapy, like, learn what you like about yourself, and maybe connect your patterns to what why I'm sharing about who I am and how I learned love. Explore that. You can take just what I said in the first, it's 15 minutes on the podcast episode so far, and kind of follow through. What do you know about love? What did your parents teach you? What have your previous partners taught you? Because just like my partners taught me, I also assumed like that was love, but it's hard work. And that's why I had crushes and liked guys the way I did in high school, and gosh, and even my ex-husband, and not necessarily probably being emotionally available or really knowing what he wanted. I'm not sure. But this is what I'm kind of encouraging you to look at. And then even with my ex-fiance, like, he was not healed, and that is 100% why it didn't work out. And I have done so much work. And if you are at this point, you've done the work, you've done the therapy, you've gone here, you're really intentional about your growth and your experiences, and maybe you're really intuitive, or however your journey got here, is January is ending. Can we be open to receive? As you're dating, and I'm not doing the gender roles for girls versus guys, but I think there's been something, and I'm a millennial, so I'll speak to my generation, where I think I learned to work hard right off the bat, or to overdo it, or to reach out more. Like, oh, if I haven't heard from him in a couple days, I'm gonna reach out. No. I literally recently reiterated that to myself. I don't do that. That doesn't mean I play hard to get or I waste someone's time if I'm not interested. I'm very open and direct about that as much as I can be, and learning to only be better at, right? If someone says they're no longer interested, or if someone doesn't talk to you for days, unless there's a freak emergency or something happened tragically, there's no excuse. He or she's just not interested, and that's okay. But let's say you've been burnt out, you've been single for a bit, you're like, Court, there's no good guys out there, I swear. Or my men clients, I have really good guys in my life, really good male clients too, and they're like, Courtney, y'all are crazy, he's talking to me and the females. And are we, instead of blaming or going to this, what do we want? Are we clear what we want? And are we really ready to receive? I think for the longest time, I was not willing to think love was easy, or to think it should just ebb and flow. But the truth is, it should. I really think that. But I think the reason why I didn't is because I didn't know to be open to it. So I'm going to encourage you to place your hand on your heart and just say, heart, I know we've been through a lot. Deep breath. Good job. I'm proud of you for doing that with me, because I know sometimes it's weird. That's what I always say to my clients. They're so silly. They're like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, let's just do it. I'm open to receiving love. February is going to be great, and the rest of the year is going to be so good. I am open to receiving not just love from dating, but in life and in work, and to see things differently from here going forward. I feel like January was a year. Yes, I know. You probably do too. And let's move forward and know that love's coming. Yeah. And that you're open to love. And if you're not, and if your heart's like, I'm not sure, that listen to your body and say, okay, well, what do I need to do? Maybe I should reach out to Courtney or ask her for a referral, and finding out what hasn't healed. I do weekly, and just recently moved to bi-weekly therapy for myself. And I'm not saying I won't go back to weekly. I'm constantly meditating, looking within, and asking myself what's going on. And what I've learned, again, in the last couple months is it's really hard for me to receive love, or to think it's just easy. And then I have to remind myself of my beautiful daughter. I'm like, it is easy. And people should know if they're interested right away. And I tend to think we try to talk ourselves into dating people, And I'm not saying like meet someone and get married in a week. Please don't. I mean, maybe it will work. I've heard some cool stories, but I truly believe after a first date, if not 3, you do know if that's someone for you or not for you, or if you're interested or not interested. You know, there's something that happened with my ex-husband, like right when we were dating. I think it was like the first 6 months-ish. I did end things. I was like, hey, like I didn't know the word aligned at this time, but we had different belief systems, religious beliefs, and I can't remember exactly. I just remember like going back to thought and like something's off here or something. And then I remember it was at my parents' house, and he's crying and I was crying, and gosh, like instead of just like letting it be and letting the relationship in, 3 hours later I like text him like, I'm so sorry, I changed my mind. Like I knew something was off in this, but then I'm like, he was crying, he loved, like, and I think we just knew we loved each other too. And gosh, I think about that time and I'm like, I didn't trust my instincts, and I have no regrets. My ex-husband was one of my greatest teachers, and we have a beautiful daughter, and life happened the way I believe it was supposed to happen. But those are the things, is if you think something's off, like that's what I do now when I date or I get to know someone, or even when I broke off my engagement. As soon as I saw something that I know wasn't changing, I was out. It was hard. And I think my ex-fiance probably thinks I was like, I think he was shocked. But I don't give things more time if there's red flags. And that's not what this podcast episode's gonna be about, but I'm just letting you know, you're gonna know if something's off. Your gut or feeling or heart or something's gonna be off. And we're so used to talking ourselves out of that we keep going forward anyway. Let's stop that. If you see a yellow flag, orange flag, take it out. But again, so going back to receiving love is, again, knowing it's not that hard. Knowing that you are lovable, that you are deserving of love. And that, and again, this is not just relationships or dating, this is for life. I am deserving of love, connection, abundance, joy, peace. And we are capable of it, but when we don't think, or somehow part of us doesn't think it exists, like that's like what closes it. So as January literally wraps up today and we are transitioning to February, what do you want different? Like, how do you want to experience love and joy? And are you really open to it? Because a lot of us love the idea that it's gonna come, but they don't really know what to do, or like even like, of course I'm open to love, he'll find me or she'll find me. And the fact is, are you? Have you done the healing work? Do you know what you want? You know, there's sometimes where you're like, you go on a date or two and you probably know it's like, again, you know if it's there or if it's not there. Like, and you're like, maybe I'll do one more date. I've done that recently, actually. And I'm like, ugh. And I think, why do I do that? I know it's not there. I would know. My body would know. My heart would know. You'd be excited. You'd want to text. You'd want to communicate. And welcome that. Welcome ease. And saying, I am no longer accepting hard work as love. If it's not effortless and easy, because it should be easy, especially like that first month or two, if it's not effortless and easy, then maybe ask yourself, I don't think this is for me. And if it's on your stuff and your side, what do I need to heal? Am I really open to it? So again, we're gonna have some fun people come in and talk. I've never had people on my podcast, so I'm excited. I asked for grace because I haven't done it before. I welcome February with you. I'm opening up my heart and extending out to you guys, and offer excitement knowing that all the hard stuff, like, again, if January felt like a year to you, like it was for me, I let it go. I'm open. I'm ready to receive. I'm willing to put myself out there. And I trust myself to know if and when someone is for me or not for me. And anything that comes up that feels like your stuff's coming up, like a good one would be, how would I say that? Maybe I'm getting anxious. Oh, anxious attachment. I got a good story for that. I'm sure I'm saving it for February. And anxious attachment, and you're like, oh, why isn't he calling me or texting me, or is she calling me and texting me? And that's something to look at. That's something you can reach out for me for. And because the thing is, it needs to be free flowing. Or you just creating anxious attachment to have an attachment, right? Because we don't quite understand what's going on with our bodies. But that's just a quick little pause. We're gonna revisit some of that, I promise, in February. And again, part of me just wants to leave today and tell you to be open to receiving. That February, I don't know how far into astrology my viewers are or not, but like they said, it's year of the horse, the fire horse, and that everyone's like, shouldn't it be done because last year was year of the snake? No, you're actually saying, I think it's like February 16th or 17th is when the year of the fire horse actually starts. So I think that's why January feels so long. I know, that's weird. But I want to encourage you to be open to that fire horse, to be, or whatever else you believe in. You don't have to, you can think that I'm weird. Open to love, open to excitement, knowing that the best is yet to come. Knowing that this is when you can make a real mental choice to say, I'm done maybe being sad. I know I am. I refuse. I'm done to let people change or alter my mood or my attitude. I made that choice this morning when I read an email. I'm like, I am not letting that upset me. I am not going to have that affect my day. I will cancel, alter, change my plans and move on with it. I'm not going to look into it anymore. I'm not going to give, not power. I'm not going to give energy to something that doesn't, not even require my energy, but deserve it, right? I'm calling in ease, fun, love, receptive communication, and for us and my audience to just have a really good February. And that this is when it changes. And if you've been on my journey with me and maybe you really relate to me, that's a lot of my clients, especially my coaching clients. You're in the midst of getting out of that divorce. You're like, I don't know if I'm ready to put my heart, like, just be open to receiving good information, practical tools, being open to hearing my guests talk about their journey and how they got to where they're at. And because at the end of the day, I know you want more, or you don't want to be left with nothing, does that make sense? And I think when we welcome February in, we are going to experience some fun stuff. I think this is when it can shift for you. If it's been a really hard road, which, yeah, I can relate, I really believe it's going to shift. So I want to leave that with you today. Thank you for joining me and being on my journey with me. And I know this kind of went up and down, but like, that's the idea of no teleprompter. That's the idea of me just showing up as my authentic self. And I encourage you to do the same. You don't have to be perfect. It feels so good in my body to say. For so long, I thought I had to be perfect to get love, to have things figured out. But the fact is, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out. You can trust yourself and be open and receptive to what's coming, okay? Well, until next week, guys, have a good one.